I'm driving a 2017 Maserati Levante. This is the base car. Just finished driving the S, actually. And definitely a big difference between the base car and the S. 345 horsepower, 424 horsepower for the S. They have the same size turbocharger, same size engine. The S just has different cams and 16 pounds of boost versus 13 pounds of boost. The S also makes 428 foot-pounds of torque. It was really, really quick, actually. 0 to 60 in 4.9. The base car does 0 to 60 in about 5.6 seconds. Still respectable, still plenty of power. And base prices differ about $11,000. This base Levante starts about $72,000. The S is about 83 grand. I think it's well worth it for the S. This one is really, really good looking. It's Grigio over red. It's really classic Italian looking color combination, kind of the dark gray with more of a burgundy interior than a red, which is absolutely beautiful, man. This car is strikingly beautiful. And again, when you start it up, the audible just reminds you of an Italian car. The way they tune this engine to sound is absolutely amazing. It's as close as you're going to get to taking your Ferrari off-road too. It's got the Skyhook suspension, which has 5 different settings. So 2 sport settings, 2 off-road settings, and of course a neutral setting. And it adjusts up to 10 inches, almost 10 inches, 9.7 inches I think. Gives it really good approach and departure angles for whatever Yahoo in Dubai is going to take this thing four-wheeling. Actually, I think Maserati, I was told by one of the Maserati reps that they actually built an off-road course in Turin by the factory to test this thing off-road. And what's really amazing is that they made this suspension in the highest off-road setting really gummy versus super sporty when you put it into Aero 1 or Aero 2. So really, really awesome suspension tuning here on this one. It's really comfortable. It's super quiet. I love the steering wheel. I really love the paddle shifters. I mean, they just look amazing. They feel really good. This car really does feel like $1 million, man. I can't get over the way it looks and feels. The S I drove had the 21-inch wheels, and the ride was really awesome, even with the big wheels. This one has a really good-looking set of kind of Maserati throwback-looking 20-inch wheels that almost look color matched to this Grigio, and they look phenomenal. I think this thing looks awesome. Supposedly Maserati has been working on an SUV for 13 years, man, and it really shows in this car. One of my favorite things is hydraulic steering and limited slip diff standard on all Levante. They have not gone to electric steering yet. So the wheel feels connected to the front wheels in a way that a lot of other SUVs in this segment, well, pretty much every other SUV in this segment just doesn't have anymore. And I love that the Italians stuck to the hydraulic steering. Man, this thing is effortless power. This 3-liter has a ton of torque, and especially in the S with the 430 foot-pounds, man, it really goes. The ZF 8-speed, of course, awesome transmission, like works very well in most applications. Pretty much all applications, actually. It's my favorite automatic on the market. I recently drove a Land Rover with the 9-speed ZF box, and that was horrifyingly bad. Not really sure the extra cog did anything, but the 8-speed is wonderful in this car. It works really well in the base car and the S. As far as fuel economy, you're probably going to average somewhere around 20, but nobody really cares in this segment about fuel economy. It's not the best, especially the S. I think it's rated even lower than that mixed use, but again, who cares? I mean, this thing is so much fun. The steering is so direct. Gosh, it's so good. My Blindside Assist going off. This one does have drive assist. And they also added some tech, which is kind of funny for Maserati, because before this it was pretty much all Chrysler 300. It might still be. I know they're spending a lot of money to go away from using the Chrysler parts bin. They actually built a separate plant specifically to manufacture stuff like window switches so that they wouldn't be carryovers from a Chrysler. But this one does have the Apple and Android integration, so the Apple CarPlay and the Android Auto are available in this car. It's actually standard. So that's really good. That's very good, useful tech to have. Overall, what an amazing package. I don't know that there's a better SUV. I mean, you could shop the F-Pace, but I don't like the F-Pace as much as this. And the F-Pace is more of a Q5. or a Macan. You know, this going to be more comparable again to a Cayenne, although I just recently drove a Cayenne and didn't sound anywhere near as good, not as beautiful as this. I mean, the front end on this car is absolutely striking. Suspension is great too. I don't know about longevity. It seems to self-level a lot. I mean, it's definitely moving up and down a lot. Every time I stop, every time I get out, it's always self-leveling. And I've also heard that after 100 or 115 miles an hour, it goes into a sport mode that you can't even activate manually. It hunkers down. It opens these flaps in front of the radiator for cooling. You know, maybe if you're on the Autostrada, you could experience that. Not too much of that going on here in the U.S. But just really an awesome SUV, and I think does all things well. I don't know that there's a better jack of all trades car, and I mean like sports car, family car, SUV, off-roader. It just does everything so well. Let's get on this thing. The sound is intoxicating. Like the cold start again, just absolutely ridiculous, man. It sounds so gnarly. And it's really comfortable and quiet in the cabin. I have it in sport mode, right? So the exhaust baffles are open. When you put it in Sport 1 and Sport 2, opens the exhaust baffles. It changes the engine mapping for maximum boost, tightens your steering, and it does a few other things. But I'm in sport mode right now, and it's relatively quiet in the cabin, you know. But I'm sure outside this thing is really loud, because when you're standing outside, I had a colleague do a couple flybys. I mean, this thing is just, it really sounds like a Ferrari. Like, you don't know what's coming, you know. If you just heard it from around the corner, you would think there was some supercar coming at you, and then some SUV, soccer mom SUV pops up, you know. So if I'm in the market for that $80,000 to $100,000 luxury SUV, man, I'm going to Maserati. And a lot of these dealers are selling out of these things. Maserati plans to sell 30,000 of these things in 2017 worldwide. And I think they might do it. I mean, this is the car that's going to put them back into the market. You know, they'll do just like Porsche did. They'll release like a Macan competitor, maybe a smaller SUV, and then who knows, they might go after the Range Rover market, release something a little bit larger, something in the 130 to 150 range. It seems to be that the success of all these manufacturers lies in making an SUV. You know, the sports car scene is dying, unfortunately, and they've got to get into the SUV game to make profit. And Maserati has realized that, and after 13 years of development, they're finally getting back into it. They're in it, and this thing is doing very well. It's selling very, very well, and I can see why, because it is absolutely amazing to drive. So if you're in the market for that luxury SUV, again, go drive the Levante. You owe it to yourself. It will win you over. You will buy the Levante. I'm out. Peace.